Welcome to podcast 49 from Football-Oranje, your home of Dutch football. You're listening to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes or Football Nation Radio. Today, I, Michael Statham, am with Michael Bell to preview the Netherlands' upcoming Euro 2020 qualifiers against Belarus and Germany, as well as react to the Champions League quarter-final draw of Ajax against Juventus. Enjoy! Okay, Mike, we should start by talking about the Belarus game. It's the first one coming up for the Dutch. And I think, bearing in mind that the Dutch have been playing a lot of the top sides recently, Ronald Koeman has shown that his Netherlands side can easily beat some of these bigger teams by playing more or less in the counter-attack. This game against Belarus poses a completely different challenge, doesn't it? And How does Koeman go about this kind of game? Does he need to change the lineup, or does he keep it the same and just keep faith that his players have the quality to break Belarus down?
For me, I think he'll stick with the same formation he's been playing recently. I don't think he'll revert to a back five. I think he'll go 4-3-3. Sometimes against the bigger sides, some of his wingers like Babel will drop a bit deeper, but I think in this one we'll see a straight up 4-3-3. And they'll attack from the start, and they'll try and put Belarus under pressure with, pace up front. I think he'll go with, Memphis, and I hope he'll start with Bergwijn because he's in great form at the moment, and he's a great dribbler of the ball, which is what we'll need against a tight Belarus defence. We played Belarus twice recently through the World Cup qualifiers and beat them home and away. So it's a fixture the Netherlands really should be winning, and I think going into the Germany game, you'll be looking for some confidence, and hopefully, for me, the big thing is that Memphis starts and does well because he's the one that's got the big question mark around him. He's not having a great time in France at the moment, so if he can start and get some goals, then that's going to be very important.
True, Memphis is probably going to be relied upon yet again in the striker's role for the Netherlands, which I personally really love. I think he's the right man for the job. But it's who plays around him, isn't it? And you mentioned Bergwijn there. He had a frustrating afternoon, today as we're recording, a 1-0 win for PSV away at VVV. But Bergwijn was largely crowded out of the game, and he could have a very small impact on PSV's win today. Who are these players that are going to be playing around Memphis, and players that have that quality and that edge to break down these kinds of defences? Who else is going to be supporting Memphis on the wings and fullback roles? Because they're probably the positions that have been changing the most recently for the Netherlands.
What you're going to see is he'll probably start with Babel. If he's going to go with the same, he spoke in the build-up to announcing the squad that he wants to pick, the same players that he's been working with so far, and he doesn't want to change much about it. So you got to think that maybe Babel's going to start again. He's been playing well recently. He struck up a nice partnership with Memphis, during the recent fixtures, and I think he'll start again. So you've got somebody like that who can score goals if the deliveries are right into the box. So I think you're going to look at Daley Blind and Denzel Dumfries on the wings. They're going to have to get forward support and put the crosses into the box, and they're going to have to look to overload Belarus on the wings to try and get the service into the middle. And players like even Gini Wijnaldum, he's going to have to play a bit further forward than he does for Liverpool, and you're going to have to look for somebody like that to get space in the edge of the box to try and finish off a chance, and get an early goal and ease the pressure, and then really look to add 2 or 3 goals and get a very confident win.
So you said there about your fullback roles, you wouldn't have Van Aanholt instead at left back, you'd pick Daley Blind?
I'd like to see Van Aanholt, but I just don't see Koeman dropping Blind. I just think that you'll want to pick probably the same 11 that he'll go with against Germany, just to get them playing together and get them in the right frame of mind. And I think he'll go with Daley Blind on the left. You got to think that with Van Aanholt's pace, he's got to be probably a better suit against a lower nation. But in preparation for Germany, I'd rather see the same side and one that's going to hopefully go forward and throughout this competition. So I think Blind will be the one that starts.
Personally, I think I would actually like to see a few changes between the Belarus and Germany lineups, because Germany, yeah, it's going to require a bit more of a conservative approach. You're probably going to have Martin de Roon in midfield, a more defensive-minded midfielder for the Germany match. And I'm not really sure that he's necessary for Belarus. I'd actually go for a midfield of Frenkie de Jong, Wijnaldum, and Donny van de Beek, because he's been in good form for Ajax of late. Would you keep the exact same midfield trio for Belarus and Germany? You wouldn't even change that?
I think for me, I think if de Roon doesn't start, it'll be David Proper. I think he's come back into the squad. He was the one that was starting before he got injured and he missed out the last few games, and de Roon took his chance. I think if Koeman is going to change it up and drop de Roon, he's got to pick David Proper in there. He's quite a similar sort of more attacking player than de Roon, but his technical ability around the box is probably a little bit better than de Roon at the moment. I just don't think that I'll go with Donny van de Beek. I'd like to see van de Beek get his chance, but I just think Koeman, the first game of the Euro 2020, he'll want to start with a victory. He won't want to change too much. I think he'll go with the players that he's been using so far.
Let's talk a little bit more about the opposition then. So Belarus are up first on the Thursday, and Germany coming up on the Sunday. I think we know plenty enough about Germany at the moment and their struggles and how far they've fallen, I guess, since they won the World Cup. But who will the threat be when the Netherlands play Belarus?
I'm going to have to look up Belarus.
You know what? I just had to Google them myself. Well, Mike, you're struggling. So a quick Google of Belarus reveals that there is quite a lot of experience in the squad. A lot of players over the age of 30. And I guess really it's just going to be a battle of attrition for the Netherlands, because Belarus will probably just try and defend this match. I don't really see them trying to cause any problems in the counter-attack. Looking at the squad here, there's very few players that are even under the age of 21 in the squad. In fact, there weren't even any in the last round of call-ups. So I'm not really sure that it should be a walkover for the Dutch. So we'll just have to see what happens. But I guess for Germany, is it just going to be trying to play the same way as they did before against them?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Belarus, they're actually going into the game on a 6-game unbeaten run. But that was in the Nations League, and they were playing teams like Luxembourg, Moldova and San Marino. So you'd expect Netherlands to win quite comfortably. But against Germany, it's going to be interesting because it seems to be a parallel from what Netherlands were before the Nations League to what they are now. They're now going into this game with many people see them as the favourites against Germany, and Germany decide that it's got a bit of a crisis around them. The manager's under pressure. He's recently dropped 3 of the big name players from Bayern Munich, the Thomas Müller, Boateng, both been dropped and not in the squad. So I mean they've got all the pressure on them at the moment to show up and get a result. There's some few fresh faces in the squad, and I think they're going to be very motivated to show that German football isn't dead at the moment, because Bayern Munich going out to the Champions League, there's no side in the last state of that, and they're not going to want to, after finishing bottom of the Nations League group, they're going to want to start Euro 2020 qualifying with a victory. And I think if Holland beat them comfortably, I think they're going to end up sacking Jogi Löw. So I think Netherlands actually going to this game with the pressure and all the focus not on them, which I think will work out well. I think if they can play the game that they did last time, get Frenkie de Jong on the ball, play on the counter through the pace of the likes of Memphis and Bergwijn, then I don't see why Netherlands can't beat this Germany side again.
True, although I think this will probably be the most difficult match between the Netherlands and Germany, because the Dutch have done so well in the last 2 matches against them. The pressure's on to do it again. I think that's what makes it even more difficult. And as you say, they might well be revitalised and refreshed and wanting to go again. But I also agree that if the Netherlands beat Germany, it could well be the end of Joachim Löw. We always get plenty of questions on the Football-Oranje podcast, so thank you very much again for sending those in. Abdul, we've already answered your question now about the lineup. But let's go on to Fish Rhino's question here. How many points do you think the Netherlands will get in these 2 qualifiers? So Mike, what's your prediction for both of these home games?
I think the aim is obviously going to be 6 points. I think Belarus, that's 3, and then Ronald Koeman will be hoping that his side can beat Germany again. They've done it recently and they drew in Germany, so there's no reason why they can't. But I think starting without losing these 2 games is vitally important. So even 4 points would be good for me. I hope 6, but 4 is all right. Then you go into the games. The Estonia ones and the Northern Ireland's are the ones that the Netherlands need to win because the top 2 go to the tournament. So 4 points, start well is key. 6 points would be great.
Yeah, agreed. I think 4 points isn't going to be the end of the world, and it does set up the Dutch really well for the rest of the qualifiers. And finishing top 2 in this group is still a great achievement, and it will get them there. So let's move on. And the next big topic, the next big talking point, Ajax got through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League and have been drawn against Italian giants Juventus. The home leg's first, the away leg is after that, and it's coming up in April. Let's kick this one off with a question, Mike. So Abdul asked this. Ajax have actually got a very poor history against Juventus, and the last win for the Dutch side was in the 70s. Can Ajax make it this time?
For me, I don't think we should rule it out. I've seen a lot of people basically saying that, this is the draw that Juventus would have wanted, and it's got to be a walkover for them. And Ajax, Ronaldo has such a great record against Ajax. He's got to get rested for the games. This is the tournament that Juventus want to win. Ajax really stand a chance. They're going to be tough, but everyone was saying that going into the Real Madrid game as well, that Ajax were going to get hammered by Real Madrid. It was going to be easy for them, and look what happened. So I think that ruling out an Ajax, at least an Ajax victory at home, is doing a great injustice against them and how they've done so far in the tournament. I think we should be more confident that Ajax can do something. This Juventus side isn't unbeatable. I mean, Genoa beat them today without, and Ronaldo didn't start, but they've suffered their first loss in the league this season. I think that they showed against Atletico in the first leg that you can create chances against them, you can score goals. And then it's all just about really trying to keep Cristiano Ronaldo quiet from crosses, and I think De Ligt has already come up against them before and kept a clean sheet when Netherlands beat Portugal 3-0. And if he can keep Ronaldo quiet, he can really hurt this Juventus side. So I think Ajax do have a chance. I don't think it's so doom and gloom that some people are saying that Ajax have no chance at all, which I just don't see.
I agree with all those points you said there, Mike. Really good points about De Ligt versus Ronaldo and how poorly Juventus played in that first leg against Atletico, because they were 2-0 down after the first leg and they were quite dreadful actually. And as you said, they got beaten by Genoa as well in Serie A. They're beatable. So will Real Madrid. And I remember at the time when the draw happened for Ajax against Real Madrid, we were quite confident about it, and then Real Madrid picked up some good form. We were all of a sudden started to feel less confident. It's just going to be ups and downs until that point, until that match. But it all comes down to if Ajax can replicate the way they played against Real Madrid. And even in that home leg when they lost 2-1, they were unfortunate to lose 2-1. They should have won that match quite comfortably. But both of those legs, they outplayed the Spanish team. And there's no reason why Ajax can't do that again against Juventus. The Juventus have always prided themselves upon having a really strong defence. But I think all the movement of Ajax is going to cause them a lot of problems again. It really suits them to be underdogs. And if they can keep that mentality again, they're going to definitely cause them problems. Let's just hope that Hakim Ziyech is going to be fit for that match. In today's 1-0 defeat to RZ, he went off injured. But again, you've seen that match, how even Ajax can go through poor spells themselves and are hardly insurmountable themselves. A 1-0 defeat to RZ, but they did create loads of chances, but they also let slip too many chances themselves, and they could have been 2 or 3-0 down against RZ at one point. Doesn't that form? I guess it doesn't have. We're not Ajax fans. It shouldn't worry us personally, but does it worry you going into that Champions League match that Ajax are sort of letting slip some of their how strong they were in the league? You think that they only just beat PEC Zwolle 2-1. They had that 1-0 defeat against RZ. Is their form starting to worry you a little bit heading into that Champions League match, knowing how big it is for Dutch football?
No, not really. Really, because if you look at what happened before the Real Madrid games, I think it was a draw or a loss at Heracles. Everyone was rolling them out then, saying that they were terrible in the league. That's just what happens with the Ajax side. They have these little defeats and draws in the league, but they pick themselves up for these big Champions League nights. This is where their main focus is for some of the players. I mean, after the first leg loss against Real Madrid and everyone was praising them, the players are coming out and saying, yeah, we focus more on these games and we do the Eredivisie games for some reason, and they couldn't really put their finger on it. But I think that these players want to play for big clubs. They're all looking for moves in the summer. The likes of Ziyech, the likes of De Ligt, Tagliafico. These players want to rise to the occasion, and when it comes down to these European nights, the crowd gets right behind them, and the Johan Cruyff Arena is going to be bouncing that night, and that's going to pick the players up, and they're going to perform to their best. And I don't really think that the league form right now is a big worry, because it's totally different a Champions League night.
That is true. Ajax always pick themselves up for these really big European nights, and they've done it against Bayern, they've done it against Real. Let's see if they can do it again. Just to clarify for those listeners who are wondering about the future of Dutch football, there's been quite a bit on our website, but just to clarify the situation, at the moment, if the Dutch want to be the 11th best league in Europe in the coefficient, they have to get at least a draw. They can also win against Juventus over the two legs. That will give them enough coefficient points to be above Austria because of Red Bull Salzburg's good form in the Europa League, but they are now out of the competition. A draw or win will put them back above Austria to be 11th placed league in Europe, therefore guaranteeing Champions League football for both first and second placed Eredivisie teams straight into the group stage, which is something that used to be the case, but we recently lost this season. So the season after, in 2020, there will be, again, 2 automatic places for the Champions League. Just how important is that for Dutch football, though? Because we do make a big deal about this whole coefficient, but what difference does that make for Dutch sides?
It makes a huge difference when you think that over the recent years we've seen Ajax and PSV and Feyenoord go out of Europe and against really poor teams, and you don't want to risk that with qualifiers. And start of the season, anything can really happen. If, say, Ajax PSV lost a load of players in the summer to try to gel a new team, they come up against the side in the qualifiers and get knocked out. That's really bad for Dutch football. Whereas play straight in the group stages not only brings guaranteed revenue for a club that can help bridge the gap to those other big sides, but it means that Ajax or PSV are definitely going to be guaranteed at least 6 matches in the Champions League, and that's huge. I mean, you've only seen what can happen this season. If 2 get there, Ajax can get to the knockout stages. They can beat these Midland sides like AEK Athens. They can match sides like Benfica, and they can give problems to the big sides. And if PSV and Ajax keep getting to the group stages, it'll attract better players to the Eredivisie, grow the league. The money will go to other clubs, because it not only helps with the Champions League but Europa League as well. So the clubs will go straight into Europa League. So the better these clubs get, the further they get in Europe, the more chance that Netherlands, they're 11th place right now, that's what they're aiming for, if they can get it back from Austria. But there's no reason why they can't go to 10th, 9th and challenge in leagues like Turkey and Portugal, because that's where Netherlands should be. Ajax and PSV are as good as the Benficas and Portos, and that's what they should be aiming for.
Agreed. And in addition to that, there was something new agreed with amongst the Dutch teams this season to allow the revenue that Ajax, PSV Feyenoord receive from Europe is then shared out. Only a small amount, but it's shared out amongst the lower teams in the Eredivisie. So it's not only it wouldn't make the gap bigger between the top and the bottom of the Dutch league. It actually allows the whole league to grow, the whole league to have extra money for wages, to compete with teams from abroad for the transfers of decent players. So it's massive. And I guess on that, related to that, is the futures of some of the best players that play in the Netherlands that are young but also need to move on to develop their careers. One of those players is going to be Matthijs de Ligt. He is a world-class player already, I would argue. We had a question for Martin, and he wants to know if there's any chance that De Ligt can stay another year at Ajax.
No, I think you see all the reports around Europe at the moment. Juventus want to charm him, and Barcelona are apparently ready to offer 70 million, and but there's still Bayern Munich in there. There's another couple of clubs that are in there like PSG. I think there's just too much interest at the moment. I think a club will bid around 70 million in the summer and he'll go. I just can't see how Ajax can, one, convince him that he can stay, because he's already reached the knockout stages of the Champions League. If they do get put out in the quarterfinals, that's probably where you'd expect Ajax to go out. That's probably the most he's going to achieve at his club. Yeah, if you don't win the title, he'll go out with maybe not winning the Eredivisie will annoy him. But to become a better player, he's going to have to play against the best strikers week in, week out. I think a move this summer is a no-brainer for him, I think, because it's great for the Netherlands as well, because right now Virgil van Dijk, you see how he's improved since he's went to Liverpool. He's probably now the best centre-back in the world. And De Ligt, he's not too far behind, so if he goes to a major club in the summer, he could take that mantle off of Van Dijk, and it's great for the Dutch national team's future, because we probably have the best centre-back partnership in the world.
Yeah, it sounds a bit dramatic, but that is definitely the case. Van Dijk's been immense for Liverpool this season, and De Ligt is just developing game after game. When you watch him play in the Champions League, he's just one of those talents that that this guy's going to be one of the absolute names for the next 15 years within football. That doesn't mean that all of the Ajax players are going to leave this summer, though. There's quite a few that will probably stay. Dusan Tadic this week said that he's going to be tying himself down to Ajax. He's got a good contract already. He doesn't need to leave. He's happy where he's playing. He's happy scoring the goals, giving the assists that he's doing. He's happy playing in the Champions League. So why leave? That's a good message as well for more senior players to come back to the Netherlands and play for some of the top sides and develop themselves again and win trophies, which is great to see. So well done, Dusan Tadic, for advertising that, I guess. Before we finish, we should talk a little bit about the Dutch Eredivisie. A huge result then, as we have already discussed. For the title race, PSV beat VVV today, 1-0. Ajax lost 1-0 to RZ, so they're now 5 points adrift from the title challengers. So yeah, what do you make of all this, Mike? And is it a big nail in the coffin of Ajax's title hopes?
Yeah, for me, I thought going into today it was going to be a massive day for the title race. You had both sides going into away fixtures that looked tricky on paper, and then all throughout the PSV game they were really poor. VVV had chances, they could have snatched it, and then 5 minutes to go, Lozano pops up with a winner. Big relief for PSV, who haven't really been playing that great in recent weeks. We've seen them draw 3 times, against Heerenveen and Feyenoord a couple of weeks ago, and they were dropping points, and they should have been way out in front, but they've let Ajax get back into it. And Ajax went to AZ, who have a history of not being able to perform against the top 3. Their last win against any of them came back in 2016 against Feyenoord. It looked like Ajax, who knew if they won today, they could go to the top if they beat PSV in 2 weeks. You thought Ajax would be well up for this game. They'd take the game to AZ. They'd have Ziyech and Frenkie de Jong back in the lineup, and all arrows were pointing towards an Ajax win. But AZ were excellent. Calvin Stengs and Idrissi just caused them problems throughout, and it easily could have been 3 or 4-0. It was only 1-0 in the end, and for me, yeah, in 2 weeks' time, Ajax could probably beat PSV, and they probably should beat PSV, but then that's not going to be enough. You're going to have to look at them dropping more points throughout the end of the season, and then, are this Ajax side going to be that focused on the Eredivisie? They're not going to drop maybe another 1 or 2 results before the end of the season. I doubt it. So, yeah, this is a huge day for PSV, and that makes them even bigger favourites at the moment. I think that 5-point gap, even if it becomes a 2 points gap in 2 weeks, I think it's going to be too much. I see PSV now as the big favourites.
Yeah, I think PSV are the big favourites as well. But Ajax are at home against PSV in that match that's coming up after the international break. If they win, it's only 2 points again, and who knows after that? It's all twists and turns, isn't it? And I think after the first half of the season, where we saw both Ajax and PSV being imperious in their form and winning all their games, to now actually dropping points and having much closer games, it's good to see, and we're safe in knowledge that there'll probably be a lot more going on in this title race. A lot more is to happen yet. But I think, it's vital that Ajax get that win against PSV. If they lose, it's 8 points, and that's too big. I think we'll finish on a question from Jordan, and he wants to know how good Adrian Dalmau is at Heracles Almelo. He scored 8 goals in his last 4 games. It's on really rude form at the moment. And he wants to know if any of the big 3 in the Eredivisie would take a chance on him. Personally, I don't think so. I think you're looking at a sort of Fran Sol type of thing, where a Spanish striker yet again, who developed himself well with Willem II. He did eventually leave. He left in January, but at the time he only had 1 season and thought, wow, I'm going to carry on and develop myself further in the Netherlands, and he did so. He scored more goals, and then he felt he was ready to move on. But do you think, Mike, do you think the same, and do you think Dalmau's got the quality to play in a bigger team?
I think you're exactly right with the Fran Sol comparisons. I think he'll be a player that gets linked to the top 3 maybe, but I don't think he'll eventually. He's not an Ajax or a PSV player for me. I mean, the only one you'd look at maybe is Feyenoord if they want him, or maybe AZ. You'd probably say that their weakest point is the fact that they've not really got a striker. So if he keeps scoring goals, he could go to a side like that. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's just another club in the Eredivisie that has a great scouting network. They picked him up. I'd never heard of him before he went to Heracles, and it's just a great signing for them, and one that, when they do sell him, will make them some money, which is what they want, what these clubs want. They want to bring in these players for little to no money, and then develop them into a player that will bring in 2 to 3 million. And that's exactly what Willem II did with Fran Sol, and that's what Heracles will do with Dalmau. It's great for clubs like that who don't make too much money from revenue, or they don't really develop many young talents into players such as like an AZ or Feyenoord. So he's got to bring in a lot of money for them, I think.
Just to finish the podcast, how wrong have we been about Heracles? Because the start of the season, didn't you say the same as me, Mike? And they'd actually been in relegation trouble, and look where they are, the top 7. Another win, they could be in 4th, 5th place. So just how much have they sort of developed, really? Yeah,
I mean, they've had a great season. I think they started really well, but we all expected them to drop off. They have a little. But for me, it's just a case of, the Eredivisie this season is wide open for those European playoff spots. There's like 4 or 5 teams that can really get one of those spots, especially if Ajax wins the cup and it opens up an extra place in there. You're looking at clubs like Groningen and Heerenveen who can still make it in there. So it's going to be a good battle between now and the end of the season, who gets that into the top 8 and gets a playoff spot, because I think it's going to be wide open for that last European spot. I think Feyenoord and AZ will battle for 3rd and 4th, and then it's going to be between the Vitesse's, the Utrecht, possibly a Heracles and Heerenveen and Groningen for that last spot. And it's good to see, because it gives it's a tight relegation battle, it's a tight battle for the European spots, and it's a tight title race as well. So I mean, there's so much to play for before now and the end of the season.
Very true indeed. And just a little fact for us to finish on this week. Heerenveen have been involved in 15% of the Dutch Eridivisie's goals this season, which is just an outstanding stat for maybe all the right and wrong reasons. A very entertaining team to watch, but they do concede a lot of goals. Mike, thanks for joining me on this podcast, and our next one will be the Big 50. Well, we've just done really well to get there, haven't we? I just want to thank everyone really for listening, subscribing, and I guess enjoying our content.
Daar is hij. Ja! Ja! Daar is Klaassen. Goal!